I woke up this morning thinking, what a beautiful and wonderful day it is. You have the Oilers going into Game 7, go Oilers, obviously, and you also have a massive Toronto by-election that's going to pave the way for how Justin Trudeau's federal election will go. That's scheduled currently at the end of 2025. But with the results of this, we may actually see something sooner, because not only is it a massive by-election, but Trudeau is down in the federal polls before the by-election even begins. Wow, I can't help but smile. It's a wonderful day today. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. And once you subscribe, there's a little bell icon that shows up. If you just do me a favor and click and tap that, it just adds a layer of insurance so you can actually be notified of upcoming videos and streams. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I look forward to seeing you guys on those streams. Without further ado, let's get into this. So you've got the polls right here. Pierre Poilievre was down to 206. He's back up to 209. Bottom line of 179. Top end of 230. And this is the very interesting point. Justin Trudeau was at 80 projected seats. He's gone down 10 projected seats overnight, and the by-election hasn't even happened yet. That is insane. You also have the Conservatives still sitting at 99% likely winning the most seats and 99% likely winning a majority government, with the NDP and the Liberals teeter-tottering on who's going to get 1%. But I really don't think you're going to see the NDP go from 24 projected seats above what the Liberals have. But who knows if this by-election goes how people are thinking. Even if the Liberals win the by-election, this is the thing, right? The Liberals win, okay, they win and they're going to celebrate, but it's if they win, by how much. That's so important. But they could also lose, so it's almost like it's a lose-lose situation for the Liberals, and that happens later tonight. So you're going to want to stay tuned for those election results. Speaking of results, we have a little bit more momentum with the Calgary water pipe that burst. You have the mayor that says it's on track to be repaired by July 5th.
Timeline to repair the feeder main seems to be on track, and we are still shooting for that July 5th completion date. I can report that yesterday our water consumption levels were up again. We used 467 million liters. And while that is below the threshold, we're trying to stay lower so we can ensure that we have an emergency supply of water available in case it's needed. Yesterday we had another very good example of why that supply is so important. The Calgary Fire Department battled a fire in the community of Prestwick last night. Thankfully, there are no injuries being reported, and crews were able to manage the blaze. Our ability to use less water for our daily routine has really resulted in folks at the Calgary Fire Department being able to access water when they need it for critical situations like the one last night. We are making sure that non-potable water from the river is available for all of you to access safely. So we're offering this to the public in the same way that we have offered it for commercial and construction uses. So in addition to both the Ogden boat launch and Baker Park, there are now 4 more locations where you can bring your containers to get non-potable water in the city. And those 4 locations are the Spy Hill Landfill, the Genesis Center, Ambrose University, and Bishop O'Byrne High School.
So lots of progress with that water pipe being repaired. I hope they get it back sooner than later. And speaking of sooner than later, we have Justin Trudeau, who is being questioned, right? You have Wall Street Silver saying, Canada, is everything okay up there? We are worried about you. And this is because Justin Trudeau took this yesterday before heading home because we couldn't have Reykjavik without visiting Rainbow Street. We couldn't leave Reykjavik, which is in Iceland. To everyone celebrating Pride in Iceland, in Canada, and whatever, which is, I mean, that just validates the video that I posted yesterday on this channel about Justin Trudeau being the first ever gay prime minister, because in an interview he did many years ago, he was so vocal on the fact that he hopes that Canada's first gay prime minister would just go unnoticed, that no one would even acknowledge that there is a gay prime minister because it wouldn't be a celebratory thing, which is what Justin Trudeau is doing. Like, he celebrates pride for other people, but he doesn't do it for himself. And then you have all of the breadcrumb trails that lead to everyone unanimously agreeing that, yeah, something's going on there. He's got a little bit of Klaus Schwab on his lip. Speaking of something on his lip, Marco Mendicino got spat on. I did recently just cover this on my live stream. I also posted that video on my extra channel, which is linked down below in the description. But I, just for those that missed it, let's just take a quick look-see-poo here. Huck-tooey. That's not nice, he says. And then they proceed to talk about it face to face, and they make up. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I apologize. I'm frustrated, and Marco Mendicino's reply to that frustration and being spat on is, I get it. And obviously, I don't condone that behavior. I mean, I said that on my live stream. I also said it when I clipped that live stream and posted it on the extra channel, and I'm going to say it again. I don't condone that behavior. That's assault. That's a form of assault, and it's actually worse than treason in this country, because, I mean, you have people that are committing treason are politicians and nothing's happening. So the police did get involved, but I don't think that individual got arrested. Speaking of arrests, isn't this a crime right here? You have a immigration app in Canada that has more reviews than Netflix, Disney, Amazon, Apple TV combined. What? Who's believing that? Everybody knows about Netflix. Everybody knows about Disney and Apple TV and Prime. Those are like the main streaming services. And then you also have like Hulu and Crave, right? But Disney, Netflix, Apple, like everyone knows what those things are. Most people even have a subscription. I think like probably the majority of people have a subscription because cable TV is on its way out. People have lost trust in mainstream media. There's no need to see it anymore. You can see everything on social media. People want their streaming services. They want to watch what they want to watch when they want to watch it. So ipso de facto, wouldn't that mean that those apps that make bajillions of dollars per year would have an exorbitant amount of reviews? Yes, it would. But somehow a Canadian immigration app where a lot of people don't even know where Canada is, like not that far away. I mean, there's people in America that are like, yeah, I've heard of Canada. I don't know where it is. That's not me taking shots at American intelligence. It's actual conversations that I've had with Americans. But obviously, if you're immigrating to Canada, then you would know where Canada is, right? But apparently, it's just so popular that it's got more reviews than all of the biggest streaming services put together. That seems fake. That seems really, really fake. And speaking of fake, perfect segue into the next clip here. You have Freeland that says, if you don't vote Liberal in this by-election, you're cold, you're cruel, and you're small. Huh. Well, that seems like some political pressure.
That is Leslie's vision. That's the Liberal vision. That's why I'm really calling on the people of St. Paul's to go out there and vote for her. Because the alternative is really cold and cruel and small. The alternative is cuts and austerity, not believing in ourselves as a country, not believing in our communities and in our neighbors.
That just seems wrong and unethical. Like, I get that a party campaigns for themselves and they want to say, hey, vote for us, don't vote for the other people. But belittling people, saying you're cold, cruel, and small, that just seems wrong. And personally, I would want to vote for someone like that, just based off of that. Not to mention, it's the devil, Chrystia Freeland herself, the Wicked Witch of the North. But anyways, chances are they aren't going to do that good in that election. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Who do you think is going to win the election? Do you think it's going to be the Conservative MP, or do you think it's going to be the Liberal? Let me know down below. Here we have Pierre Poilievre urges Prime Minister Trudeau to call an election now instead of in 2025, which is something that, I mean, I don't even have to ask down in the comments because I see it all the time. But this is something that I'm pretty sure most of us would like to see.
What this session of Parliament taught us is that after 9 years of this Prime Minister, everything is broken. 25% of Canadians are now living in poverty. 2 million lined up at food banks. 38% more people are homeless. Housing costs have doubled. It wasn't like this before this Prime Minister, and it won't be like this after he's gone. Will he put us through another year and a half of this costly hell, or will he call a carbon tax election today so we can elect a common sense government to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if the Leader of the Opposition actually cared more about Canadians than he does about his own political interests, he'd be supporting the 400,000 kids we're going to help with the National School Food Program. He'd be voting in favour, instead of opposing at every turn, the dental care program that has already helped over 200,000 seniors and will now, as of next week, start helping young people and Canadians with disabilities. He'd be standing with us on expanding childcare spaces instead of campaigning against it. But, Mr. Speaker, he doesn't care about Canadians. He cares only about himself.
Yeah, I think that the only person that cares about themselves is Justin Trudeau. Every time he talks, every time, especially when he does an interview, you see the narcissism come out of his pores. It's very disturbing. And now, speaking of disturbing, let's take a look at this by-election information. So the polls are open in Toronto for the by-election, and it's considered a crucial test for Justin Trudeau. Even a marginal Liberal win could be troublesome for the Prime Minister, which is probably why he's already down 10 seats projected. 10 seats. That's insane. He didn't even have to do anything for those 10 seats to disappear. He just had to exist. I mean, that's awesome. Fantastic. Keep it up. Let's see him lose 10 more. Toronto St. Paul is considered a Liberal stronghold. The Midtown riding has been solidly held by Liberals for more than 30 years, but national polls suggest the Liberals are facing some of their worst levels of support in more than 8 years of power. An aggregate of polling shows Conservatives are leading by double digits. Former Liberal staffer Leslie Church is running to replace former Liberal MP and Cabinet Minister Carolyn Bennett, who retired from politics after representing the riding for 26 years. Church is up against a Conservative candidate, Don Stewart, a former Bay Street worker whose first foray into politics would be both dramatic and memorable if he flips the riding to blue. I cold-heartedly agree with that. I think that if that is the case, if he does switch it, it's monumental. Chances are he's going to get some special treatment and privileges from Pierre Poilievre, because it's going to set the precedent that the House of Cards has fallen, that Justin Trudeau is not the person or doesn't have the support that he is presenting. For crying out loud, he's gone on live television and said, I don't care what the polls have to say. This is a man whose entire career is based off of popularity. That's absurd. That's absolutely insane. That's like a contractor saying, I don't care how many people hire me. Well, I mean, you should. That's literally the job. It's a popularity contest, Justin, and you don't care about your popularity? That's worrisome. Very much worrisome. Let's take a look at this video here.
On a busy morning, it's hard to break through the noise.
Good morning, good morning.
Especially to talk politics.
Hi folks, I'm Leslie Church. I'm your local Liberal candidate.
Toronto St. Paul's has been a safe seat for the Liberals for more than 30 years, and Leslie Church is Justin Trudeau's candidate this time around. She's favored to win this by-election, but it's his name that's on voters' minds.
I'm just one of those Liberals who can't support Trudeau this time out.
Wow. Check Leslie out.
Great candidate.
Oh, I know she's a great candidate. She's the best of the bunch. Yeah. Justin Trudeau.
It's a sentiment Church can't ignore.
Well, look, I do hear a lot of that too, and I think that that's pretty natural for this point in time.
She's pitching Liberal policies on housing and daycare, but she knows the rising cost of living is driving some people away from her party.
They're frustrated, they're cranky, but I also think that they are smart and thoughtful, and that when they look at the alternatives here, they want to vote for people who are actually going to bring real solutions to the table.
Think you can win this thing?
The solution for many of the voters we spoke to, shifting support to Conservative candidate Don Stewart.
Look, we've had a super busy morning, knocking on doors, talking to voters at doors.
Talking to voters, but not journalists.
To voters
What are voters telling you?
Thank you.
What are they telling you?
Yeah.
Even Liberal voters at the advance poll say this by-election should be a wake-up call for the party and its leader.
This riding is important enough as an indicator that he should really seriously contemplate passing the baton at this point while there's still time for a new leader to gain some traction.
Polls suggest the race could be tight.
A lot of the Jewish community usually votes Liberal NDP, and a lot of it's changed.
A lot of time has gone by.
Not anymore.
And it's just time for a change.
I had a hard time making a selection this year. I'll just put it that way.
It all comes down to Election Day on June 24th. The poor showing here by the Liberals in St. Paul's could lead to some soul searching for the party and for Justin Trudeau.
So Justin Trudeau, through his plan to divide and conquer, has failed to acknowledge that as he's going through this, his party and including himself will have to go through a re-election, right? Because he can't just say, well, I'm the leader and I make the decisions and we're not going through another election ever again. That so right now wouldn't work here in Canada. They're like, you can't do that. They've tried in other countries and it works there, but not here, at least not yet, thankfully. Justin Trudeau has divided everybody. He's been divisive towards Muslims. He's been divisive towards Jewish communities. He's been divisive towards Canadians, which I know is inherently multiculturalism, but he's been divisive to everybody. Everybody who supported the Freedom Convoy, people that are patriots that wave a Canadian flag, right? He's been divisive to literally everybody. And the way he's divisive is he tries to allow, other than Canadians protesting with the Canadian flag, he allows other things to happen. He allows the pro-Hamas protests in the streets. He allows the Jewish protests to happen in support with Israel. And it's everyone is fighting. And everyone looks to the government, the kids are fighting, and they look to the parents going, hey, mommy and daddy, what are you going to do about that? And Justin just goes, yeah, everyone's doing great. Keep it up. We don't condone bad things, but I haven't seen it be bad yet. That's his answer to pretty much everything, which is why it's taken him like 9 years or 5 years to list the RGC as a terrorist organization. Like, Trudeau is failing on all fronts, and you can be the most normie, which is probably some of the people that we just saw talking in that interview with mainstream media, right? The woman who's like, yeah, it's time for Justin Trudeau to pass the baton on to the next one while they still have a little bit of momentum. And that's where that narcissism comes into play, is if Trudeau wasn't this big of a narcissist, they might actually have a little bit more, popularity, which I know they don't care about popularity, but it essentially is a tiny bit of a popularity contest because you have to get people to vote for you and be popular. And so the fact that his narcissism has gotten in the way of that is, it's poetic. It's poetic in the sense that Trudeau is going to be the rise and fall of the Liberal cabinet, and that's going to stain the party, the federal party, and all municipal provincial parties for the next 10 years. You could have a version, not the version, but a different version of Pierre Poilievre, let's call him not Pierre, okay? Not Pierre wants to run in politics, and not Pierre becomes a Liberal. Not Pierre could have similar ideas to the Pierre, but because he's a Liberal, it doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter if you have a not Pierre or the Pierre that chooses to be Liberal. You could have the best person for that job, and because they're attached to the Liberal Party, ipso de facto attached to Justin Trudeau, it's just not going to work. That's a horrible, horrible, horrible place for any political party to ever be in. And I can't help but smile because you know what? They deserve it. I have one more video here. This is a CTV interview for question period. Let's see. They're just talking about how crucial this Toronto-St. Paul by-election actually is going to be. Let's take a look here.
Nice to see you.
Hey.
David, is this just a regular old by-election, by-elections be by-elections, or is this of potential consequence?
Pay no attention to this meteor heading toward the Earth. No, I think it's pretty significant in the sense that if the Liberals were to lose it, then it obviously is going to send a very strong signal to everybody in the party that this is the reality of things on the ground, that they can't ignore the polls as they were telling you they do, and that that the polls are a reality of their lives. And the second thing is that it is going to continue to solidify the narrative around the government as something that is headed inexorably toward defeat, a government that is really struggling in public opinion. And therefore, what that means is that everything that they do now gets judged as a political exercise, as an attempt to resuscitate themselves, rather than a true policy objective. And it really damages the credibility of their policy initiative. So for a lot of reasons, they really need to win on Monday, and convincingly would be good.
Yeah, let me ask you about whether or not, Corey, you think the margin of victory matters, in particular against the backdrop of what David just talked about, insofar as a narrative heading into the summer.
Yeah, look, this should be one of the safest seats for the Liberals in all of Canada. When they only had 11 seats in Ontario at one point, this was one of them. Mm-hmm. So, it should be a very safe seat. That said, I think they're going to lose. And by-elections are generally very difficult for incumbent governments to begin with. You're not going to change the government by sending a message in a by-election. Often the opposition is more motivated to come out than your supporters are. And in this particular riding, I think there are a couple of things that the government's done that are not holding them in good stead. There's a very significant Jewish population in St. Paul's. It's I think about 11% of the riding. Used to be very reliable Liberal voters, but I think they're pretty mad at the Liberals right now. And I think that community is probably en masse going to be voting against the government. And it's also a wealthier riding. I think the capital gains tax changes don't affect a huge swath of Canadians directly. In a riding like St. Paul's, it would affect a lot more people than would be the median case. So I think they've got a bunch of things going against them. I think it's going to be a difficult day for them on Monday, but we'll see.
So it's interesting that Corey says that, Kathleen, because most Conservatives are thinking that they'll do better than normal, but I haven't heard them say they think they'll actually win in the riding, just because the factors that Corey identifies make total sense. But instead of motivating people to go vote for the Conservatives, most of the Conservatives I speak to assume that it means that those Liberals will stay home. They just won't go and vote. What are your thoughts?
It's been interesting to see how the Conservatives have framed this up, and they're largely saying you're frustrated with Prime Minister Trudeau. Vote for the Conservatives. And I actually think that they haven't actually put a case on for why they should win the riding. I'm also surprised that Corey actually is calling it for the blue team, because ultimately I don't think that margin in this case matters. I think a win is a win and a win for a by-election. I'm not saying that for sure they're going to win it. It is supposed to be a safe seat for the Liberals, but it is always been a seat that has flipped between the Conservatives and the Liberals. Basically, it was Mulroney who won last. It is, as Corey had said, it's actually 15% Jewish population, so they'll be swayed primarily by the differences of positions that the parties have taken on that issue in the Middle East. But I don't know. I actually think that the Liberals could pull it out, and I think that that deflates a lot of what, you know, both my two colleagues have said about for the Liberals. Like, is it going to be basically, you know, the tea leaves for the Liberals, and will it make, frankly, Justin Trudeau walk? I don't know. I think it's really going to come down to, are they so frustrated with Trudeau, or are they fearful of what Pierre, I'm tongue-tied today. Are they fearful of Pierre Poilievre, and they don't want to put him into office or give him a vote of confidence?
So that's also a massive point where it's not just people that are supporting the Conservatives, it's also people that don't want to support the Liberals or Justin Trudeau. So you have two reasons not to vote for Justin Trudeau, and it's going to be one hell of a eye opener for the Liberals and for Canada. And already, like I said at the start of the video, before the polls have even finished counting, before we know anything of the results. In fact, the opinion polls at the federal level, they updated overnight. So it's even before the polls open today for this by-election. Trudeau federally is down 10 points, 10 projected seats. That is catastrophic. But we're going to have to wait and see how this by-election turns out. And I will do my absolute best to deliver you that information when it happens. So make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. Turn on those post notifications, because I may do an impromptu live if I see fit. And that's where we're going to end the video. Everyone, I would absolutely love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. You might as well smash that button too. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.